Good morning, SEMO, and welcome back to another episode of Hawk's Nest. I'm your host, Maddox Murphy, and joining me are Dylan Nooner and Isaiah Collins. Today, we will be giving our mid-season grades and evaluations on the softball and baseball teams, as well as previewing our spring football game. Stay tuned till the very end for a special guest from our football team. On that note, let's get into it.
Today on the show, we're going to be making a little bit of a change of pace in our show. Instead of just looking at last week's action for baseball and softball, we're going to be looking at mid-season grades for both teams. Let's get this started.
Yeah, so starting off with softball, they're fresh off a sweep of Morehead State last week, and they currently sit 18-21 overall with a 12-6 conference record. That has them tied for third in the OVC, just 2 games back of Eastern Illinois. Based off their overall play this year, how would you grade the softball's performance so far this year?
When we're going just off this season alone and do with expectations, I'll give it a B. I think obviously they're still doing great in OVC play. The tough conference, I don't want to grade that too hard against them. It was going to be a tough sledding out of conference anyway. They do have a couple big victories, including, of course, recently beating Mizzou. So I think overall, good offense, have some reliable pitchers they can go to. I'll give it a B.
Yeah, and I'll be a little more generous. I'll give them an A- right there with softball. We did see that slow start, and like you said, I don't want to hold that tough non-conference schedule against them. But they're coming in red hot and playing their best ball right now. They've won 3 in a row, including 6 of their last 7. And I know we've been talking about how disappointed or just how the offense hasn't been what we're used to seeing, but believe it or not, they actually lead the OVC in 9 offensive categories. And as well as the pitching, it's third in total pitching with a 2.36 team ERA. So I think that the softball team, they're playing their best ball right now, and they're starting to click on all cylinders. They have a big conference showdown against Lindenwood this weekend, who they're currently tied with for one of those third-place spots. So it'll be an interesting finish to softball season, and hopefully they can repeat as regular season OVC conference champions this year. So turning our attention over to baseball, they're coming off a series win at home against Southern Indiana last week. They're currently 18-18 overall with an 8-4 conference record, which has them tied for first place with Little Rock and Tennessee Tech. Based off of what we've seen so far from baseball, how would you grade them and their performances so far this year?
Well, I don't want to give both teams the same grade, so I'll go B- for baseball. I think they've had great moments. They've had moments also where you kind of worry about them having the same fate as they did last year, falling in the conference playoffs. Offensively, there's been some great play from Ben Palmer, Josh Cameron. Caleb Corbin's hitting close to 400 at this point of the season. But I think still there's a little bit missing where I can't quite put them on that A level.
Yeah, and I think that's where we kind of agree there. I currently have them as a B for their performance this season. It's been the inconsistencies. The offense has been great all year, but then whenever, the games where they don't show up, they tend to struggle. They just came off a series loss against Little Rock, who is, top tier in the OVC this year as we see them tied with them. But one of the bright spots is we've been talking about the pitching and how it has struggled this year. Surprisingly, though, they're third in total pitching in the OVC. So I don't know if that's a testament to their team or just how down the pitching is for this year in the OVC. Additionally, they lead the conference in 10 offensive categories by a large margin. They have 15 games left, including a huge road series this weekend against Tennessee Tech as they'll battle to regain that first place spot in the OVC.
Special guest in this week's Athlete Spotlight of the Week, All-American center Zach Gigg joins us to talk about the upcoming spring football game. So very exciting news. Our spring football game is taking place this Saturday at Houck at 4:30 p.m. And on that note, today we want to welcome a very special guest, Zach Gigg. Welcome to the show, Zach. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You've received the Remington Award, which is a huge deal. You've been named an All-American and All-OVC multiple times. What do these awards mean to you, and kind of how do you stay motivated as you continue?
You know, those awards really only come when your team's winning. I got that award because Gino was running so well, and we had 3 all-conference players on that line that year. So really the goal's to win. You don't hear my name unless I have a penalty or miss a block. So it's kind of like a pat on the back at the end of the year that I was doing what I was supposed to. The awards are cool and all, but if we're not winning, none of that really matters. So I'm just glad to be here and try and do it again.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us to the spring game this weekend. So what can fans kind of expect to see from the SEMO football team?
I think you're going to see a lot of competition. There's guys fighting for jobs. There's a lot of new spots to fill. I think people are excited to be in the stadium, play in front of people. I don't think we've ever had a spring game like this. It's more of we kind of want to bring a party to the spring game. There's dollar beers, tailgate. It's literally like a game day atmosphere. So I think it'll be a cool environment. Spring football, why not? What else do you have to do on a Saturday night? I think it'd be a good time. You're going to see a lot of football, a lot of competition, physical. People are ready to get after each other.
Awesome. Obviously, with the spring game, that typically provides an opportunity for younger or less experienced players to kind of show off and showcase their skills. Are there any up-and-coming players that we should keep an eye on coming into this game?
There's a lot of guys, I would say. We brought in a lot of new guys. Our receiving core is pretty awesome right now. We lost Ryan Flournoy. We know he was probably the greatest to ever come through here. But we went and got 4 guys that there's just no way, anyone in our league can guard all 4 of them. We got a lot of running back competition right now. We got a 17-year-old in there that is an early grad, Peyton Brown. He broke out on a 60-yard run and slid down at the 1 in a 4-minute situation so we can run the clock out. It was really just smart. He bounces off tackles like nobody's business. We got a new running back named Brandon Epton. He's a baller. There's really just going to be a lot of – everyone's looking for that starting running back and starting receiver position since Gino and Ryan left. There's going to be a lot of that. We're fighting on the O-line. There's guys like Jalen Nettles that came in. He's going to be a big factor for the run game. We got a lot of guys on defense too. Trey Lyle, McCoy. They're going to be good on the end. Rush. There's just a lot of guys that are really fighting right now to show that they belong, and I think that would be the best part about it.
Yeah, sounds like you're feeling pretty confident going into this and going into next season. With the regular season on the horizon, how do you feel that a strong showing in the spring game will set the tone for SEMO football?
I feel like with the spring game, we're just trying to bring focus back to us. You know, the season's coming back around. We need your support as much as anything, honestly. With this new stadium, we want to fill it up. A home court advantage is more than you know. It really helps out when the stadium is cheering your way and booing the other side and having a fun.
Is there anything else you would like to share with SEMO fans leading up to this big game?
We'd love to see you out there. 3:30 tailgate starts, dollar beers. Let's have a blast. It's going to be a good time. We got a party in the end zone after. Looking forward to seeing you there.
All right. Well, thank you, Zach, for joining us.
Of course.
And we are excited to see you guys do your thing on Saturday.
Thank you.
We have another exciting week coming up in SEMO athletics. Take a look at what's coming up next week. That's it for us this week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Make sure to follow us on socials at Southeast Arrow and On Target Arrow for all the updates. I'm Maddox.
I'm Dylan.
I'm Isaiah.
And this is Hawks Nest. Have a great week.